It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, with a review of The Mandalorian, Season 1, Episode 6, or Chapter 6, The Prisoner. Or another filler episode, but it's a good filler episode. So yeah, because a lot of people have been complaining that every episode of The Mandalorian so far has just been filler, and to the extent that it's right, yeah, that they have been kind of filler, but not really, and I'll explain why. So let me just go ahead and get to the slideshow. So, and this is actually the longest episode by far. Clock time plus the credits is like 43 minutes, but it's about 40 minutes, give or take. So, yeah, so the Mandalorian arrives at this station, and he is, he's reached out to his former partner, Ran, for work, and Ran has welcomed him to his space station, even though the Mandalorian is, on the run because he needs a ship and an extra guy for a 5-man job. Now, the job supposedly is that they are to rescue a partner who has been captured by a rival syndicate. Well, it turns out, no, it's actually a rebel prison ship. But we meet the guys. The bald guy is Mayfield. He's a former Imperial sharpshooter, not a stormtrooper. Big red guy is Berg. He is, and then we've got a droid named Zero, or Q90, but it's Zero for short. He's the pilot. He was able to get the ship in. Then we meet an old friend of Mando's, a Twi'lek named Xi'an, who is kind of nuts, actually, and she's got these fangs that I've never actually noticed on Twi'leks before, but maybe they're some kind of subspecies. But she kind of plays, kind of a badass. So I hate it that there's some history between these two, and it's actually done pretty well, I think. There's just enough backstory, to give you an idea of what's going on here, but it doesn't overdo the exposition. So they go ahead and break down the mission briefing, and this is where Mando realizes that it's a rebel prison ship, but they decide, okay, fine, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do it, even though he has misgivings about this. As they've docked at the prison ship after some piloting and signal jamming by Zero, there's this little scene where Xi'an and Mayfield have this little conversation, and also this is after Baby Yoda has popped out, and or Yoda baby, I'm sorry, I keep saying Baby Yoda, it's Yoda baby. So yeah, this is a telegraphed bit where you just know someone's gonna pull a double cross. So yeah, they get to the ship, and all is more or less smooth sailing. There's a couple of incidents where they have some shootouts with the droids, because it's supposedly manned entirely by droids, but there is actually the commander of the ship, and this makes sense. You want at least one organic there. But he's some nervous newbie, New Republic, a guy who's basically just doesn't want to die. And Mando is actually trying to save this guy's life by convincing him to give up this, because he's got this tracking beacon to let the rebel fleet know that the ship is in trouble, because it's a prison transport ship. But Xi'an kills him, and she's like, you all talk too much, and so she just solved the situation. Now, Mando didn't want a body count here. Otherwise, I don't think he would have agreed, because he knows the situation for himself is not improved by increasing his body count unnecessarily. Self-defense, yeah. Murder, no. But Xi'an, yeah, doesn't quite have that compunction. She doesn't have any qualms about this. And here we see the little tracking beacon, which, again, will figure in later on in the episode. So, yeah, they get to the prisoner, and it turns out... oh, yeah, and there's this bit where Berg takes these huge freaking security sentry droids and just bashes the living daylights out of them. He's a really powerful guy. So, yeah. But then we discover the prisoner is another Twi'lek, and it turns out it's actually Shan's brother Quinn, with whom Mandalorian also has a history. And Quinn says, yeah, you left me behind last time, and look what happened. There's a bit of a reunion between brother and sister, and then of course the inevitable double cross because they Berg shoves Mando into the prison cell formerly occupied by Quinn and set off a blaster to a ricochet inside the cell for a bit until Mando gets his bearings. But Mandalorian kind of expected this because again there's this history uh, between them where he knows not to trust him completely, and then of course Zero discovers a hologram from uh, Grief Karga, which is Carl Weathers' character, and uncovers a reason why Mando is wanted. Mando, of course, is busy freeing himself. He basically destroys his security droid, humanoid, steals its arm, and uses the arm to get out of his cell, and then he takes over the command center while everyone else is trying to escape the ship, and he starts playing a cat and mouse game. And this is what I like about this episode. It goes from a heist episode, a heist story where they're trying to steal, or in this case liberate a prisoner, and then it becomes a cat and mouse episode. So there's really adept writing here, which I really enjoy. So Mando's having fun playing with the security systems, but then of course Berg shows up. A Yoda baby puts in another appearance to play his own little cat and mouse game with Zero, who decides, okay, I'm going to track this little brat down because, yeah, he is still wanted quarry. Quinn tells Mayfield that he wants off the ship and he has no problem leaving his sister behind. Because Mandalorian has separated everyone into, so he can pick them off one by one. And so Quinn says, I want off the ship, and Mayfield's like, what about your sister? It's like, what about her? And he walks off, and Mayfield's like, man, this is a really screwed up family. It's one of these moments where it shows, it actually makes me wonder why Xi'an was so desperate to get her brother out of prison when, he's the kind of guy who would actually betray her and leave her behind himself. That's the one weak spot of this episode. So yeah, Yoda baby is still playing hide and seek. Meanwhile, Mandalorian is trying to get the best of Berg, but Berg is just too tough to go down quickly. So there's this extended fight scene where he just almost outfights Mando, except Mando eventually gets the upper hand. It takes him a while. Then he takes down Xi'an, who's a knife thrower. Then, of course, Zero finally finds Yoda baby, only to be shot from behind by Mandalorian just as Yoda baby is trying to use the Force to save himself, but it's not quite working on the droid. So, because I suspect Yoda baby was trying to use a mind trick or something, I don't know. So anyway, Mando takes Quinn back to Ran to fulfill his bounty and get paid. And Ran is like, after Mando departs, he programs a gunship to destroy Mando, but Mando has done his own double cross. Now that the job is done and he's gotten paid, he's planted the rebel tracker on Quinn, and then a bunch of rebel X-Wing fighters show up and blow the living daylights out of the station along with everyone on it. So yeah, that's the end of Quinn, that's the end of Ran. Because Ran was like his old partner of the Mandalorian. And then, of course, we cut to the final scene where it shows that, no, he didn't kill these people. He just knocked them unconscious and left them in the prison cell aboard a now unmanned, under-droided prison ship. So how they're going to get out of there or feed themselves or whatever, we don't know, because the other prisoners presumably are screwed too. But yeah, but this is pretty much the episode. And again, this is another filler episode in that it doesn't seem to advance any sort of plot. And I'm coming to suspect now that we're not going to have an overarching plot, because this is playing off very much like the non-serialized episodes that we saw well into the 1980s, where you have standalone episodes that, maybe loosely connected, but they stand on their own. You don't have to watch every other episode in order to get an idea of what's happening. So I actually kind of like that because it means you can watch them in pretty much any order after the first three. But, we'll see how this formula works, because it seems like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are kind of going back to this old school method of storytelling where you tell standalone stories that, again, are only loosely connected, and they have references to other stuff, but you don't absolutely have to watch it. But we'll see, because there's only 8 episodes in this season. We're 6 episodes in now, 2 more left to go. I'm hoping the next 2 actually advance to, whatever season story arc, because as we saw at the end of episode 5, the gunslinger, we saw this mysterious figure come up to the body of the assassin, Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen, which kind of teases something down the line. So we'll see what happens here. But I really like this episode. I mean, it's a filler episode, but what does it say when the filler episodes are actually pretty decent and you end up liking them? Because there's a lot of world building, character development, where you get backstories, but not too much backstory that it ruins the whole thing for you. And it just plays off really well written. So this episode was directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Oh, God, I can't pronounce his name. It's a Japanese last name, but co-written by Christopher Yost and Rick Famuyiwa. But yeah, so it's really great here, what we're seeing. But, like I said, I mean, I do think we need to, in an 8-episode season, we need to see fewer filler episodes and more stuff that advances the plot. Now, if this is, as I suspect, a show that is doing old school storytelling where it is not serialized and is simply telling standalone stories, I can actually live with that, because, this is the kind of storytelling that is old school. I mean, think back to the original Star Trek, where you had that standalone stuff, because the nature of syndication meant that, once something went to syndication instead of first run, then, episodes tended to be broadcast out of order. And so you kind of had to tell this standalone story, that could make references to other episodes, but you didn't necessarily have to watch those other episodes to get a feel for what's going on. So, everything's self-contained, and it's actually good, if it's done well. And this is actually being done well, in my opinion. So, but what do you think? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you not agree? Do you think I'm full of it? I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. If you want to help support the channel, like this video, share it, head over to our Patreon or subscribe to our page. I've also got a tech fundraiser in the description below. Until next time, this is Michael Wilk for The Wilk Report saying take care, good night, I'm out.